Not true.
It
Not
absolutely
true.
is true.
Half the country makes $30,000 or less, and it's not because the poor people want it that way.
No, listen. Here's what happened when they raised the living wage law in Seattle, right? Remember? When people had their federal housing subsidies threatened by their new increased income, what did they get rid of? It wasn't the federal housing subsidies, it was the new increase in income. So they're making the same amount of money now, but for fewer hours.
But looking back at
Yeah,
that,
let's see.
doing it in certain states is probably not a good idea.
Okay, but did you hear what I said?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, no, I already said it. Did you hear it? I'll be in a second. Let me just finish up here watching. Did you hear what I said? Because what my point is, we see what happens when you have federal involvement in the economy in this fashion. So you've got a bunch of people in Seattle now who, with the new living wage law, designed to make sure everybody gets a living wage. Listen, designed to make sure everybody gets a living wage. People who weren't getting a living wage before were getting federal housing subsidies. So instead of working more hours and getting above the poverty line so they wouldn't get those housing subsidies anymore, they simply worked fewer hours. They'd still get the housing subsidies. Because then it was like getting more time available for them so they could do something that maybe makes money off the books or whatever. And they can still get $1,100, $1,200 worth of housing every cost covered by the government every month. So obviously it is incentivizing them to continue passing that means test. In other words, stay poor.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what the government's telling poor people when they give them welfare. They're saying, you stay
Well, that's
poor,
not-
motherfucker. You stay poor. You get addicted
No,
to this subsidy. You
no.
get addicted to this subsidy so that
Most
you can't
people
ever
on
go up and...
welfare.
If you're
wrong.
getting
Most people on
$2,000
welfare
a year
work.
in subsidies, Washington, you need to go not just make $2,000 more a year so you get above the poverty line. You need to make $4,000 or
They
$5,000
can't.
more a year.
They can't. Jobs are not paying them enough to be able to go above that poverty line. And when they so it makes no sense to me
Okay,
to
Washington,
take that
people
away.
are responsible
The solution
for their own
is having the
lives.
solution.
Washington.
No, listen.
People
The
are
solution
responsible
is
for their
better
own
paying
lives.
jobs.
I mean, I'm not making very much money right now. Why doesn't the government give me free money?
Those people can't choose to make $100,000 a year.
Okay,
They
but
can't do that.
Washington is not choose right now. It's called advancement over time. It's what normally one expects from a career. One doesn't go to work at McDonald's expecting to stay at the cashier register for the rest of their life. They go there if they're going to stay with McDonald's to go up into management. They do something with some ambition, for God's sake. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to make more than minimum wage.
Well, as we see over the years, that hasn't been the case.
Well, you just need to be useful enough. Speaking to,
So
we
personal
both own
incentivization-
businesses. Washington, listen.
Personal incentivization doesn't work.
What?
Over the years, it's proven that doesn't work.
What doesn't work?
What we know that do work is provide Americans with good, well-paying jobs.
Okay, who's providing them? Who's providing them, Washington?
The
government is not providing you jobs.
We create the floor and we create the laws that allow businesses to flourish in this country. And
Washington.
you know what we've done over the years? Our trade laws has shipped many of our well-paying manufacturing jobs overseas. Unionization rate has decreased to the single digits, or I think like maybe 11%, 10%, 9% right now, almost single digits, which drives down wages. Also is influx of cheap labor coming from other countries, getting rid of our immigration laws.
Okay, listen.
So
first, you're doing everything backwards, Washington. You need to understand that the place jobs come from is people who are doing real work and therefore getting rewarded for it. Real work meaning it's of real utility to people and getting rewarded commensurately for it. Need to hire people for doing specific things. Bye, Sarah.
Bye, sweetie.
It's not a matter of, oh my goodness, I need to give someone a job. No, it's I have a job I need to get done. That's what drives the economy. Without the need to get something done for profit reasons, nobody has any meaningful jobs. And you're fucking Cuba.
What drives an economy is money in people's pockets, which they don't have right now, due to businesses paying them cheap.
Wait, why do people not have money in their pocket? Because businesses do what?
They pay them terribly.
Okay, listen.
There used to be a time in this country, and you're old enough to know that you can provide for your family with one person working, usually the male in the
Right,
family.
but obviously, I mean, the
because
thing is,
obviously with women being able to work.
One ENTP at a time.
Okay, well, I'll make this comment state. The reason why you said that is because that's before women came into the market. Therefore, obviously,
Well, they had to come into the market.
but that's a different argument altogether. My
They
point
had
is,
no choice.
wait. That's different argument because they came in.
No, that's exactly what happened. I know what you're talking about. Women came into the workforce mainly because they husbands had to borrow money to provide for their family due to wages dropping. And you can look at the graph anywhere online where you see wages flattening out and productivity increasing. That productivity is women going into the workforce.
Okay.
That's the increase in productivity. Ever since 1935, we had increased the minimum wage in this country. It used to be like 25 cents, 20 cents in 1935. We've been increasing minimum wage in this country, and we almost stopped in the 1980s.
well,
Have you added inflation to that?
Yeah, that's inflation. Yeah, it's stopped.
okay. Listen, you need
Almost.
to. You don't
I would say
understand.
almost
you
stopped.
Washington, I've sent it to you before. Did you read it? My explanation of what wealth is, how an economy generates wealth, how it's commensurate with value, how it represents a metaphysical. Did you read it? No, you didn't, because you're not interested in being right at all. You're interested in being wrong.
No, honey. Post the link and I'll save it so I can read it next time. But from my understanding, based on what I was taught in school, is that a country creates wealth by manufacturing products and then selling that products.
No. Anytime anybody does labor,
exporting that. Go ahead.
Anytime anybody does labor that's useful to others, in other words, performs labor on a resource, wealth is generated. It's a metaphysical or abstract phenomenon that is basically leverage over other people because you provided utility at their behest. And so that.
What about people who make Crocs? That doesn't help anyone.
Then they don't get
Crocs.
paid anything for that.
Those Crocs are probably imported from China.
You mean rocks or trucks? I didn't.
He's talking about shoes.
Crocs. The shitty shoes that you get.
Well, obviously
Wash,
they're useful to some people.
Are you a communist? Washington, are you a communist?
I'm sorry?
Are you a communist?
I'm a communist. Why?
Socialist?
Yeah, I'll consider myself a democratic socialist, and I'm proud of saying that. It's not a bad term. We're all socialists. Do you like using public roads? Do you like
That doesn't make you
our
a socialist.
police department? Do you like our public infrastructure? That makes you a socialist because we fund that by taxes. We all collectively come together to fund these things that we love and would never want to get rid of. And yes, that makes you a socialist.
Okay, fair enough. But, okay, so you're not communist, but you're more socialist than anyone.
Who's playing music? I gotta mute.
Probably Ghost.
Go ahead. I had to disable Zatch.
Yeah, okay, so here's the thing, because if you are, what you're advocating is more like big government taking care of little people and trying to control the system.
Big government's taking care of more people right now because there's a huge wealth gap in this country. If you want to get rid of big government, increase the personal income of individuals, make them sustainable. Then you can roll back government.
Who's going to increase their income? Who? Who's going to increase my income?
There's a lot of factors that have to come in law that have to come into place to be able to increase your social mobility, and that's increasing the unionization rate, fix our trade laws, fix our immigration laws, fix our tax
who's going to pay more? But who's going to pay more?
We all pay more.
No! Who is going to pay more for an employee to get more money?
Employers.
Thank you.
Why would you make more money?
But they have their own.
So are you going to force them to do this?
They're sitting on trillions of dollars, more money than they ever have in.
Are you going to force them? Who's they?
Force them. Yes.
Who is they? I've hired people before, Washington. Are you gonna force me? You're gonna force me to pay them more?
I pay more than any of these employers. I pay $1,200 a week to these employers out here. So. So
why should you be forced to pay more then?
Why
should you be forced to pay more then?
Yes. Because I have the ability to do so.
So
And
you
if
should be
and
forced.
I don't want to be.
So
I don't
you
wanna
should
be
be
a rich
forced.
guy.
Why? Hey, Washington, why the fuck do you have to be
It's not
forced?
forced.
Just go give everybody your money right now.
It's not forced because we pay more taxes in percentage of our income than they do.
Washington,
And that's not.
you're talking about increasing people's wages. But the only person who can decide whether they can afford to... Washington! The only person who can decide whether they can afford to increase someone's wages is the employer. Why would you be better suited to force them to pay more than, say, them making their own decisions?
Because we want our citizens to be able to afford
Who's
the products that
we?
they make.
Who the
We,
fuck
the
is
American
we?
people. We, the American people.
No,
Listen,
I don't agree with you at all. I think you're full
you
of fucking
agree?
shit.
But you're not listening.
I know
We want
you're
the
not
American people-
listening.
No,
You
no,
pretend
listen.
as though the employers don't pay it, that the government decides this shit.
They are not paying their employees enough to be able to purchase.
So why are you going to
what
force
they
them?
create.
Hey, who's going to force whom and by what qualities? How are you going to determine if I'm paying somebody enough?
No, it's called a closed economy.
How are you going to force them?
We do.
How are you
going
gonna force everybody? With what?
And fixing our trade laws. That's how we do
No,
it.
Washington, how are you going to force everybody to set the wages that you want them to set? How are you going to do it?
It's called unionization.
No,
Something
what
I
are you
mentioned
going to use
earlier.
to force them? No, stop lying.
You're not.
The answer is guns. You're going to force them with guns. That's the fucking answer. It's always the answer with you statists.
You sound silly. I'm gonna force them with guns.
Of course you are, you motherfucker. You're
not
talking
even
about
intellectual
changing people's
argument.
wages from a
That's
centralized
not intellectual
decision-making
argument.
body.
It's what
Well, how
we
the
have
fuck
done
do you
in
think
this
shit
country.
happens like that?
We have done this in this country for almost
Washington!
10 years, starting in the
Stop!
1930s. So it
Answer
has
the
worked.
fucking
And-
questions.
And it also has worked in countries today.
Washington,
so don't say
stop!
it's silly.
Stop!
By guns.
You stop talking and you listen
make
and
an-
answer questions.
You create
How are
a
you going to
straw
force
man
the
for me.
people?
No,
How are you going to force them?
create a straw man.
Washington, stop!
You say I'm gonna force it with guns? You're being illogical.
Washington, how do you think laws get enforced?
But you're being silly. I'm sorry.
No, Washington, I'm not being silly. How do you think laws get enforced? You want to force everybody to pay what you think they should pay.
You're creating a straw man. I'm not.
I'm not
with
creating a
guns.
straw man. It's exactly your fucking argument.
Yeah, forcing with guns. That's my argument. That's what
Washington, how do you think we force them then?
Apparently, according to you, with guns.
Yeah, well, exactly. How do they force you to wear your seatbelt?
Well, you're silly then.
No, Washington, shut up and listen for God's sakes.
I have. and
How do you
sound
think the
silly.
government forces you to wear a seatbelt? With what?
Not with guns. Come
Yes, with guns. Maybe not right now if I cooperate, but if I don't cooperate, I say no. I reject your seatbelt law.
Who do you know?
Washington, what do you think the fucking cops are gonna do?
Seatbelt.
What will the cops pull on me?
What?
What will the cops pull on me? Answer the fucking question. What will the cops pull on me?
They gonna pull a gun on you for
Thank you.
Are you silly?
Thank you.
Who do you know who killed like that? Who do you know? How
If
many
I
people
tell
died
them, no,
here
I
because of
reject your
that?
seatbelt enforcement entirely. I refuse to take your ticket. I won't sign anything. I refuse to give you my name or my driver's license.
you
They
take your
will
ticket-
pull a fucking gun on me!
If you refuse to take a ticket, it's gonna be mailed to you, and you will have more fines. They won't kill you over that.
But what if I don't want to go with them? Hey, hold on! What if I don't show up for my court date and I don't want to go with them? No, thank you. I'm not going to get in your squad car. What happens then, fucking Washington? What do they fucking pull on you?
No, you're being silly.
I'm not being fucking silly. How many innocent people do cops kill every year?
Not because they didn't have.
Oh
a
my
seatbelt
God.
on.
Will you?
And yeah, a lot of people have died a year because.
So if I reject all the seatbelt law shit entirely and just tell the cops no thank you, that's going to be fine. They're not going to pull guns on me eventually. Or not. Or are they? Yes or no?
Yeah, you're being silly.
I'm not being silly. This is the violence you perpetrate with your fucking wrongness.
We have done in this country, and it has worked.
Hey,
It's being
shut
done
up with
in
your
countries
violent
today.
thuggery, you violent
It
fucking
has worked.
thug.
You cannot.
You absolutely are. What do you think government does?
That argument.
What the fuck do you think they do? They say please really, really hard? What do you think, Washington?
No.
Do they say please really hard?
Silly.
Is that how the government forces people to do
I
shit?
pay my taxes.
Washington!
Taxes.
How does the government force people to do shit?
That's not an argument.
It's
That's
a question.
argument.
Answer it.
No, I have, and you keep.
You have not. These are fucking guns. Stop advocating violence, you fucking thug.
You cannot rebuke my arguments. You cannot rebuttal my arguments.
But Washington, I just did. You're not answering the question. How do you think government forces people? By saying please really hard?
Pay taxes. People pay taxes right now.
Fucking Washington! You're not answering the question!
No, I think you just don't have an argument, so you keep repeating yourself. I think you lost your argument.
Okay, well, why then? So,
Buddy.
so then Washington, if I lost, answer the question. What does the government force people with?
We would say guns. They force people with guns because I want them to pay their fair share in taxes.
No, because remember, you want to force them to pay. No. Remember what you want to force them to do? Did you forget?
I want them to pay their fair share in taxes.
No, that's not what you said. No, Washington, what did you say?
You're making an argument.
Washington, your words.
That's called a
I don't give a fuck.
argument.
Listen to me, Washington, shut the fuck up.
It's not a winning argument.
Your words, Washington, where you wanted to force people to make wage changes. Wage changes. Wage. Don't lie.
Yes, I want wage changes. We do that with tax code laws, unionization laws, trade laws, and immigration laws.
Okay,
that's
so
the four main ways to do it.
So that's how you're gonna force. That's how you're gonna force people to change their wages.
Yeah, because it's worked.
Why? Okay, but how does that force anybody? How does that force anybody?
What country you like to live in that has?
How does that force anybody?
That you have in place to live a great.
Okay, so Washington, who's being forced by these laws?
What country is that?
Washington, answer the only questions that matter. Who's being forced by these laws?
I call it forced. I call it being patriotic.
Who's being forced? Pulling guns on your citizens and making them do shit they don't want to is not patriotic.
I don't call it forced. You call it forced. That's not my argument.
So it's voluntary? All these laws are voluntary?
No, you pay your fair share.
Are they voluntary laws? Can I choose to disobey them?
Yeah, you refuse to disobey them, you might end up in jail.
So I can't choose to disobey them.
If you refuse to pay your fair share in taxes, because I do.
That's not what we're talking about.
You're going to
what are the things you're going to do to adjust wages, Washington? That's what we're talking about. What are you going to do? Tell me again so we can go over it now. Let's explain to you how they force people. Go over it again.
You want me to go over it again?
Tell me the different things you're going to do. Immigration laws, right?
Listen, this is how we increase wages in this country. First,
okay, guys, before I
increase the unionization rate. Go ahead.
Before I mediate for a second, just to make sure everyone understands, Eric is focused on what's right and what's wrong, principles. Washington is focused.
Well, he's wrong. He's wrong. Wait. Let me try to explain. I'm not afraid to say that.
Washington, how are you going to force everyone to unionize? How are you going to force them to unionize, Washington?
Go ahead.
How are you going to force them to unionize, Washington?
Because everything.
How are you going to force them to unionize? Is it voluntary?
Eric and Wash, can you guys let Sarah
Is it voluntary or not?
No, you vote to.
Okay, so is being in a union voluntary or not?
No, you vote to be in a union.
So how are you going to force everybody to increase their unionization rates? They're not naturally increasing; they're naturally going down right now. So how are you going to change that?
We got to get rid of this billion-dollar business right now that go around busting union meetups. Because right now it's $1 billion business to bust unions.
Okay, so whose billion-dollar business is this?
It's not democratic.
Okay, so but you didn't answer my question at all, did you? Again, you didn't answer my question. What I asked you was, how are you going to guarantee? Hey, how are you going to centrally increase unionization rates? Who are you going to force?
We should get rid of this. We should have something called card check, if I believe the terminology I'm using is right. Card check. But basically, it makes it easier for employees in the business to unionize.
Does it make it equally easy for individuals in the business not to be part of the union without consequence?
Yes, it's called decertification.
Okay, so then, listen.
Anytime.
Listen, if you can be not part of the union without any consequence, you can benefit from the union without paying any dues, then what's going to happen to the union membership?
Well, that's called the right to work states. Eventually, the benefits in the union will actually just phase out. Because
so what you're saying is,
not enough people are contributing to the union.
Okay, so that's what's happening right now. That's what's naturally happening.
You're right.
Okay, so how are you going to force the change? How are you going to force it?
Force. We should get rid of that. Stop that.
How? Who are you going to force? Who are you going to force to join the union?
When you're in the union, everybody should be involved in the union.
Who's going to force
more
you?
Money.
Who are you going to force? Everybody?
It's not force. It's contributing. We all
Okay, no,
contribute,
but
pay
Washington,
taxes.
we already talked about this. If it's voluntary, we have a problem, right? What happens to the union dues? They disappear.
Oh, no, they should be.
No,
they
but
should
Washington,
be
listen.
union dues.
We have a legitimate problem here. If we have union dues and it's voluntary to pay them, you can get the benefits regardless, then what's going to happen to the union dues?
If it's voluntary to pay them, like I just said, you keep repeating yourself.
So what's going to happen then, Washington?
The unions will eventually phase
Okay,
out.
so
which is half
right,
now,
so
because
that's
it's
what's
not-
happening
it's
now,
almost
right? That's what's
single
happening now,
digits.
right?
Right. Unionization.
Okay, so
is almost
who are you going to
single
force to
digits in this
change?
country.
So who are you going to force to change?
You should change the law so make it easier for them to unionize and
Who?
also
Who are you going to force to change?
and get rid of these right to work laws.
It doesn't
It's
matter
silly.
if it's easier for them to unionize if they can just voluntarily stop paying the dues, right?
No, I'm talking about getting rid of that.
Oh, so you want to force them to pay dues?
Yes.
So you want to force everybody who's in a union business to join that union?
100%. Yes.
Okay, so
yes,
you
right,
do
yes,
want to
yes,
force a
yes,
bunch of people to
yes,
do a bunch of
yes.
shit that you think is right, right?
Yes.
How are you gonna
because
force
they
them,
get more-
Washington?
You want to know why?
How are you gonna
Because
force
they get
them?
More money. They get
How are you
better
gonna force them,
benefits,
Washington?
and they be involved in the middle class. They be able to be
Washington!
in the middle
Hey,
class.
Washington, we're not
Work.
talking about that. You're forcing people.
No, I am talking about because it's work and it has helped
Washington!
society, it has helped
Then why are you
people.
avoiding dealing with the issue of force? You remember, you're forcing them at gunpoint.
Your argument is illogical.
Washington, are you not
Stop the
forcing
force
them?
thing.
Is it voluntary or not?
If you want to call it,
Is it
force,
voluntary or not?
Yeah, it is not voluntary.
Okay,
You
so
will
you're forcing
pay
them.
Your dues. You will pay
You're
your dues.
forcing them.
Like you pay your taxes.
Washington,
Like I pay to the police
Washington.
department. Like I pay.
Why
to the
should
fire
we?
department.
Why should we
Like I
trust
pay to my
you,
public schools.
Washington?
Why- 'cause it's
Washington,
work.
why should we
Sometimes I
trust
have to tell
you?
that.
Washington,
Works.
Washington, why should we
Society's
trust you
proven to work.
to decide
It's
when
working
force is
today.
just? Washington,
happiest
Washington,
in the world
Washington,
have the highest
Washington,
organization rate of
Washington,
90%.
Washington. I have a question. Answer it. Why should we trust you when you're the one advocating violence?
Because it worked, and I'm not.
Because violence
I'm not
works?
making straw men for me.
So it doesn't matter how unjust something is, how much violence you got to perpetrate.
You're not gonna-
If it works, it's
You're
fine.
not going to be. You're not going to be killed for paying your union dues. Come on.
Okay, so but are you being forced to pay them or not?
You are paying, and
No,
it's
if
not
you're-
voluntary.
Why is
You're not
it?
gonna
Why
be
is it
killed.
involuntary? Who's forcing me
Don't
and
get hired by
why?
that company. Don't get hired by the company. Go somewhere else that pay you shit wages.
Okay, but Washington, you just said any place that's union is going to be forced, right?
What is? All right.
So are you saying
love you, host.
the half of the population that doesn't like unions is not allowed to work at half the places in the country? Is that what you're saying? Or they must
No,
to
it's-
do so they must violate their own conscience? Is that what you're saying?
Have their own conscience. Yeah.
Do unions
You know
engage
what?
in political speech or not?
It-
Do
it
unions
makes no
engage in
sense
political
what you're
speech?
saying.
Yes or no?
It-
Yes or no?
sense what you're
It's a
saying.
simple fucking question. Do unions engage in political speech?
What have to do with anything?
Answer the fucking question.
Your questions makes no
Do
sense.
unions engage in political speech?
I don't want them to.
But
I
they
don't want
do.
anybody to-
And you
I
want to
know.
force people to get treatment in your
know
politics, you
I-
motherfucker. You want to steal people's money and force them to pay for your political bullshit, you motherfucker.
See, that's what you want to
That's exactly what you want to do, you piece of
No, you're
shit.
wrong. I do not want any large businesses, rather if it's union or billion-dollar corporation, paying off our politicians. You
Well,
don't know
that's
how ideology
you know what.
and your-
Okay, so now
your blame
your
is
solution
something.
to the problem of forcing people to express opinions they don't
Happy-
actually feel.
We need-
Your solution is
That's what-
to fucking violate their
No,
freedom
you're
of
wrong.
speech.
You're
That's your
putting
fucking solution.
Words in my mouth.
That's your
Put
solution.
words in my mouth and knocking down that straw man. And
I'm
it's
not.
a win-
I'm not.
it's
You
not a
fucking
win-
Washington. I'm not putting up any straw men. You're actually
You're
making these
illogical.
fucking arguments, you retard.
No, you're fucking stupid, honey.